Sure that your side of audio is working.
All right.
Okay, that works enough for me. Alrighty. So, we ended last time on a bit of a doozy as Maleth, speaking with Pietro in the during the preparations for confronting Zelicar, it was revealed to her that Pietro not only was in possession of her mother's finger, but had the intention to bring her back to life. Is Kayla there, or should we take care of a different
I'm here.
matter of business?
I'm
Okay,
here.
sweet. All right, Kayla. So, Pietro tells you, I have now from your companion, Jasper, your mother's finger, with which I can finally bring her back.
Yes. I think Malef responded last time with shock, and Pietro told her that she had been lied to, and so on.
Well, no,
I thought we were
I'd
doing
like to. We didn't get to role play that out. I'd like to do so right now. So
okay. I thought we did a little bit.
backing up to that
Okay.
point, I now have your mother's finger, with which I can bring her back, Maleth.
She's still going to look shocked and say, "Well, I certainly would like that opportunity." Has he already told her where he got it from?
Yes, that he
Yes.
got it
Okay. I thought
from
so.
Jasper.
I I guess I had no clue such a thing was possible, and I definitely didn't know Jasper had this. You can bring her back just from a finger?
With a strong enough spell, yes. One that, given my current position, I am capable of requisitioning.
Impressive. Um,
Tell
This is
me.
a private conversation, right?
Yes, this
Just
is a
to
private
okay.
conversation. Tell me, Maleth, do you remember your mother?
no, I was just always told she died when I was born, giving birth to me, and that was normal for to happen at the birth of the Ampirs.
He nods. Unfortunate. Out of all of the companions I've had through the years, through the century that I've been alive, or in my current form, your mother was the one who I've been closest with. She saw something in me, you see. She saw the potential that I had, that I could do more with my position and my capacity than simply destroy. I think that she foresaw something, and he gestures around him like this: the ability to create, to lead. A world, a haven for those like you, Maleth, like us. Have you come to see it yet?
Um, I certainly, um, I mean, the possibility certainly seems more possible now than I would have thought a mere few months ago. And you think my mother would support this?
I can say such, though if you'd prefer, you can ask her for yourself in not much time.
Yeah, I suppose I can. I never thought that would be a possibility, to be honest. Um, I'm sorry I'm kind of flustered. This entire prospect is not one I ever foresaw and definitely was not emotionally prepared for.
He nods. Do not worry, Maleth. You will have time. With what I have created. Zelkir, it can be our home. No more hiding in obscurity. The darkness around us need not be a prison. It can enable us to grow more than any civilization before. We can establish a true kingdom here. It may take time, but it will be the land of death in truth. And with that, we will not only live forever, but we can grow forever. And he leans in a little bit and says, with or without your friends, our path is secured. Should they prove unable to fell the dragon, we can fall in behind him and bring his plan for an undead Zelkir to reality. And if you and your friends should succeed, we will still stand victorious, a recognized and legitimate kingdom within Zelkir. It is an
Malith will
oh,
nod and say, I hope we succeed. As I mentioned to you before, I don't trust that the dragon won't turn on you at some point down the road.
he waves a hand almost dismissively. Perhaps. Regardless, I am here with you. And I hope you see, and he would gesture to the troops behind him that are making ready according to the preparations that Caliston and Jasper had directed them to. You can see that I am not withholding my support. I am not fighting against you, even if, since your companions have entered my lands, they've intended they've intended to make themselves my enemies. I stand with you now. Do not forget this, daughter,
I will not.
and
I
see that
definitely see what you're doing, and that's cost to yourself, and I appreciate your effort here.
he nods. Actually, something that I forgot to mention before, and it's not directly relevant here, but it is important to understand, is since you have come out of the dragon's lair, I guess at this point about 4 days ago, it seems as if the entire land of Zelkir is clouded. The sun is scarcely visible, and while it doesn't feel like a perpetual night, it's completely overcast almost the entire day. And that remains so here as you're making your preparations.
Okay, it's good to know. Thank you.
I forgot to mention that last time, so I figured let's not forget again. Time for talk will be more available later, Malith. But is there any other questions that you have for me now? I know that
Uh,
I've not exactly been a part of your life, but
yeah, if we didn't have such pertinent things upon us, I'd probably have a lot of questions. But most of that can wait, particularly until after I see my mother, too. And I thank you for that opportunity. The main thing I would ask now, since you are helping us and everything, is you mentioned that Jasper had her finger and returned it to you.
that is correct.
Did he
He,
know what it was?
as to his understanding, I cannot say beyond when he took it from me. I was in the process of searching for someone capable of bringing her back. Jasper and his companions attacked us, unprovoked, I would add. And when When they did so, they disrupted my plan, and I had assumed he had disposed of the body, disposed of your mother completely. But it appears that he took an interest in retaining a part of her as a keepsake or as leverage, perhaps as both. Regardless, I suppose I owe him a small debt of gratitude for not doing as he could have.
Suppose I do as well. How long ago was this?
You would have been only a few years old, I believe.
Let's see. And you had her body all that time? Before then?
He nods.
Interesting.
As you might
Um,
imagine, procuring the assistance of a cleric is not easy for one such as I, at least in the past. Though, and he kind of lifts up his hands and looks at his fingernails for a moment. Not quite so now.
Gee, I guess I should be relieved about that. I must say, every time we have a conversation together, it all seems very different from the things my Uncle Amos always told me.
I don't believe that your brother, or your mother's brother, and I crossed paths more than once, and it was not exactly the most pleasant of exchanges. And he smiles.
Malef's gonna chuckle a little and say, I imagine it wasn't, but I assure you it probably went better than it would have with any of her other siblings.
That's as may be. Regardless, I think that you, Maleth, can understand the sort of position that those who share our condition, our blessing, face in the world of the living. Do not forget what will happen if all of this is destroyed, if your companions try and take it from me. Whether they succeed or they fail, they will destroy so much. See that they know. See that they understand. He studies you for a moment longer. Do you give any
Maleth is
Oh, go ahead.
Maleth would say, I will do my best, but I guess I do have another question for you. And it's kind of prompted by seeing the other people we brought to the peace meeting. When the queen was talking, I couldn't help but get the impression that she cared more for the throne than Zelkir itself. And I guess my hypothetical question is for you, and it is truly hypothetical to my knowledge. It's not something I've mentioned to my companions or anything. But if it did come down to a choice for you between the Zelkir that is at Haven for the undead as you envision, and you yourself ruling it, which would you choose?
Do you really think that either Queen Elora or any of her servants would allow our kind safe haven here?
Oh, no, no. I was just giving her as an example of what prompted the question because, frankly, it surprised me a little how much more attached she seemed to the seat of the country than the people or anything about it itself.
You see, Maleth, this is one of the things that separates the living from the undead. They know that their time is limited, and they grasp for what they have, so fearful of losing it. They do not understand the peace that one can have, the strength of will, when you don't stand on the knife's edge waiting to lose it all in a moment. She clambers for the throne, but truthfully, she clambers for the known, the comfortable, for life. All that she has come to know, she sees that even if she wins this battle, time is a battle that she cannot win. And so she holds on to what she has for as long as she can. Do not think that if she or any other were to sit on the throne beyond myself, that they would not look only at the short term, at how they could be seen as the cleansers to remove the putrid and filthy stench of the undead from Zelkir. No matter what illusions you can convince yourself of, there is none but myself that will allow Zelkir to be the haven that it can be.
I see. Perhaps you're right, but I guess I was just trying to get a feel for what was important to you. The kingdom or ruling it?
Who's to say? Perhaps, perhaps there is another way. Or perhaps I am the only way. He studies you for a moment longer. Is there anything else that you would have for me, daughter?
Not that can't wait until after the dragon is defeated. As I said, I mean, we have a lifetime to catch up on. Well, a lifetime by my standards, I suppose, more than yours, but
Many
that can wait.
lifetimes in the years and centuries to come.
But all of that can wait until our current business is taken care of. I would like to roll a sense motive, particularly with the last couple minutes of exchange.
Yeah, please do.
Should have thought of that early on,
Yeah,
but
you're good.
where is sense motive? SE. There
Oops.
we go. Oh, I accidentally rolled twice.
You're
Sorry.
good. In your
Yeah.
conversation with him, he certainly seems guarded. He seems to be probing you as much as he is informing you, trying to gauge
Yes.
your reaction. And the biggest thing that sticks out to you is you don't get a sense of trust from him, as in he doesn't seem to trust you. With
Does
res-
he seem sincere though in what he says?
it's hard for you to say. He does not seem to you in your interaction with him, especially right now, but just in general, as someone who is accustomed to being sincere.
Okay.
So because of that, it's hard for you to tell if his sincerity is feigned or not. It seems fake in the same way that someone who isn't socially adept might seem fake, but
Okay.
it also could simply be a lack of genuineness.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and the last thing that I wanted to take care of right now before we move on is Emmeline Tempest and Jasper. Jasper,
Yeah.
At some point in the days, it probably, I guess, so a quick recap of some of the things that happened offline for those of our viewers. The party issued some commands about the forces to gather to their allies, and also sent out a search party to try and find a place that, based on the myths of the creation of Zelkir, might be closer to the place that was the inception, where Zellukar would have created it all from. And they found, in a place that may very well be directly above the dragon's lair, ruins, which, after a little bit of excavation, showed a former city with walls and ramparts, and while not much of the interior remained, something that looked to be incredibly old. And it is here that they are preparing to make their stand. And shortly after the excavation efforts, so at this point there's probably a day or so left in the week, Emmeline Tempest would approach you, Jasper. She walks up to you silently in a place where you're able to see her, but she doesn't quite get close enough to touch, probably about 10 feet away, and she stops, looking at you. The look in her eyes, you can't tell if it is one that you would expect to see on a predator, or perhaps a predator sizing up an opponent. A rival of sorts.
I look. I look at Emmeline in the eyes.
Her eyes are bright red. They meet yours unblinkingly. You can almost feel a hunger behind them. She makes no smile. You see nothing else of her beyond her pale skin and the red eyes that indicate, at least on the surface, her vampiric nature. But she meets your eyes unblinkingly.
My mother, she sent me a letter telling me everything. Everything that you told her.
We made a promise many years ago now. A promise, and she shakes her head. Not only would you have violated it, but you would have turned against me. You betrayed me. I saw it, sure as the setting sun.
And it pains me to say that I can't say there's cause to doubt your vision. Your divination was always of the highest caliber. I even when I entered Zelkir, before knowing, and before having read my mother's letter, knowing what you actually saw. Not our death, but the death of you. I came into this land intending the very same, to end your life. But
I saved us both, she says. You were not ready to see. You could not see. Has that changed?
look at me. Emily, look at me, into me.
Are
What
you
was is not so now.
are you wearing your lead-lined cap right now?
No.
Okay. So if you have changed, Jasper, would you accept the same gift that I was given? That which we promised together we would seek? I can give it to you now.
If you looked deep enough into my soul, you already know the answer to that. We once sought immortality, non-necromantic, mind you, but we once sought it together. And it was that ambition that nobody's meant to live forever, Emily.
Children, we were fools then. You have not seen what I have seen. What this opportunity provides us. All that we could ever want to accomplish. It is ours. It can be ours. The throne that your family denied you. You can have its like again. Only this time without the threat of loss that ever plagued your brother until he, in his foolishness, dabbled in things he was not yet prepared for.
Why are you speaking of my late brother in such a way?
Do you not understand, Jasper?
Your brother.
He saw the same that I have now seen. He simply was not prepared for what was necessary to accept that gift. The gift that it can bring, that we'd been disillusioned from for so long. Do you remember why we wanted immortality, my love? Do you remember why?
I do. Because you can't trust your eternal fate to a capricious god. I understand. But there's something else I learned along the way. Emily, I don't know how much of sentiment you've lost with the pain of seeing your husband kill you, even if only in a vision, but real as your visions are. I can understand that. I don't know how much of your sentiment you've cast aside now that you have what you believe to be all of eternity ahead of you, now that you're a vampiress. But
You can see in her eyes a mixture of pain and anger. Something, emotions that you're familiar with in your years together. You see in her eyes the pain of loss, of sadness, but also a recognition that you are the one holding those things back from her that she desires.
Emily,
You came here to kill me. You say that you've changed. You say that you understand. And yet you walk with those who share the blessing and the curse of undeath. And you bat not an eye. You do the bidding of Pharasma, causing destruction and death among those who've escaped her grasp. And you say that you've changed. You haven't changed, Jasper. You've grown, but you've only grown older and more stubborn than you ever have been before.
Emily,
I can give it to you, Jasper. Fulfill your oath to me. Join me. Be with me again. And she holds out her hand.
not like that. I can't accept what you call a gift after what I've been through. Emily, I went from seeking immortality with you to seeking the means to the very annihilation of the soul. And I had it. I gave it up. I learned to overcome the grief of one who had become extinct, soul and body. That's more than growing old, Emily. I realized that I was never a man, always running. But now, even though I can't say I fully trust Pharasma, I'm at least grateful that I now have the courage to face the mistakes I've made and the mistakes that I would have made. It would have been a mistake for me to have killed you. I'm glad you prevented that. but this isn't the answer. You know that somewhere deep down. I've seen into the souls of undead. Like chains and fetters, the necromantic energies bind them, warp them, distort their will, distort their hindsight. You know this. You haven't been turned that long. I know that you can sense it.
She looks at you for a moment longer, and then turns and walks away. Before she is out of sight, she turns back once more, and you can see a blood-red tear fall down her cheek, causing a stark contrast with the pale white skin of a vampire, before she disappears into the darkness.
I hope my wife is not truly dead.
As for the rest of you, are there any further preparations you wish to make, either amongst Pietro and his forces, the Queen and hers, or Lord Bellivant and his? Per your instructions, they are preparing the ballista that they have with harpoons to potentially down the dragon if it comes to a fight, as well as making sure that there are no weak undead nearby that might be able to be controlled and turned against you all. Is there anything else that you wish to do?
And Jasper had them digging something out?
There were ruins which we presume are directly above where we found Zelakar. And it's a very old city.
I believe this is where you guys had decided that you were setting up your encampment. That was my understanding from the chat this morning, or last night. There's full battlements and
Yeah. Calistan
enough of a
mentioned
city.
that it wouldn't be a good idea to set up our defenses in the capital, and frankly, it seems poetic that Zelakar would make his second coming appearance where it all started. Sorry about that.
All good.
So that's where you think he's going to reappear?
Seems more likely than any other place.
We should set up the ballista around that area?
Sounds like a plan.
Worst case, I suppose we can use the ruins anyways to our advantage.
How so?
Extract from the dragon's breath.
Yeah.
We should also be prepared that he might bring some ground forces as well. Everybody should be aware of that. I don't want us all to just be sitting ducks in case he has people that can engage us out here. Everybody should just be aware. But obviously the focus is the dragon.
Calistan, a word in private with you.
Sure.
I have a concern about. Well, let me start like this. I agree with you that Pietro is not an ideal ruler. It is possible, however, that it's in some respects advantageous to suffer his rule for a bit longer.
To what end?
I understand your disdain for the gods and the need to forge your own path. Should we swiftly take down Pietro and those who support him, there would be little opportunity to, for lack of a better word, save their souls. This artifact that I have acquired in the vault allows me to strip the necromantic energies from those possessed with them. While I understand your disdain for Pharasma, I've had it much of my life. If we had a more sorry, dang it, Prince. If we had a more stable geopolitical situation, it could be easier to give me the chance to deliver these souls one by one to the afterlife with a better chance. And if anything, allowing for Pietro's rule, while sure there is threat of him, advancing against other nations and avoid humans being livestock and crops for undead. We want to avoid the strife that would come from the fear of and the threat of an undead nation, yes.
Wait, I don't
Opposing.
understand. This artifact, what do you mean it strips the necromantic energies from something and that it gives the soul a better chance?
You mentioned before that when an undead goes to Pharasma, she just hates them, damns them in one way or another. It's basically just an indiscriminate eternal death sentence. Well, every time I've used this skull while attacking an undead, or heck, even if they died from one of you, I've been able to strip away at those last moments, while their soul lingers, that necromantic energy, that negative energy that is entangled with their soul. In fact, sometimes I'm able to see into the very fiber of their being. Even like significant events that seem to have made marks on their soul. Perhaps it's what Pharasma herself reads when they're weighed before her. The point is, I have this power, and I imagine that I could help others have it too. if there were to be a sovereign undead nation that intelligent undead could gather to, that could be a chance to either create more turmoil in the world. It could be a chance for me to know where undead are who need a proper send off.
Who's to say
Right,
we
right.
can't rule that nation?
That's true. There is that. It could be difficult to rule said nation. We've just killed their leader, but maybe that is the best way. I just wanted you to know that that's something that I'm able to do and be more or less candid with you about my concerns.
Of course, and that means a great deal to me. And I think what you can do is important. I assume this has to be done on either somebody who is an undead who has been recently destroyed, though, or a willing undead.
I missed the chance to do it on a willing undead, unfortunately. Emmeline Tempest did not seem open to my offer.
And how long does this take to do?
A mere moment. In fact, I was gonna, after all was said and done, I was offered to do it to you should you ever find your mind slipping. But seeing as you're very well intact mentally, I'm not exactly concerned. But should you find
Mordecai
yourself
clearly knew what
slipping,
he was doing.
well, he's got that going for him. Hey, thank you for being open to the possibilities.
I think the power that you have is very important. And I also think that Pietro isn't going to suffer your existence. I don't know if you've managed to patch things up recently, Jasper, or with Emmeline. It doesn't seem like it after what you just said. There's a lot of bad blood between all of you. Do you really think they're going to let you live? You're a threat.
And Emmeline knows that all the better.
I'm just saying this is a hypothetical. If we did let Pietro rule, if I was him, you'd be one of the first people I'd get rid of.
I've considered that to be the case. And I believe you might be right. Calistan. What am I gonna... Oh gosh. There's another thing.
What's
I
that?
meant to tell. Well, I considered telling Maleth this, but it slipped my mind when Gabriel mentioned that we probably would need to destroy someone's soul to face Zelakar, and that kind of consumed my thoughts for a while. Assuming Pietro is being honest, it seems that this thing that I've kept of his in my possession is probably part of the remains of Maleth's mother.
Probably.
If he was honest, then it is.
How did you come about this remain?
It was when my wife and I, when we assaulted Pietro in his keep, his thralls, his concubines, servants, we took them, stormed it. I didn't know it at the time, but Pietro dealt a fatal blow to my wife that would take her life. Would lead her to become Emmeline Tempest. Sorry I didn't say that before, but probably, I'm sure you figured something like that was the case. But
I assumed as much from when you talked about it
yeah.
a few weeks back.
But to answer your question, as we were Pietro fled, I was fleeing with my wife, Emily, and I found these. Well, I found these remains, and I figured it had some sentimental value to Pietro, and I wanted to make sure I had some leverage for the next encounter with him, so I took it. Kept it all this time, and it did come in handy, but I worry about how that could be used against me now. I worry that could more than just upset Maleth. And here we are in an awkward situation where, despite Pietro being my mortal enemy, him taking my wife from me, and apparently me taking his wife from him, and speaking with you about how we may need to consider letting him live, although you do present a good alternative, and Maleth, perhaps, if he's spoken with her, losing trust in me and in our cause here. It's not a good way to go into a last battle. And to top it all off, knowing that likely one of us wanted to give up their very being forever.
Well, let's not count him out just yet. I think Gabriel might just be hungry for a bit of glory. We'll see if the situation demands that kind of a sacrifice. You should also be careful, too. If you did give this finger up, then it sounds like you've lost your last bargaining chip for Pietro. During the fight, and especially after, you need to be careful. Who knows if he's planning to turn on everybody there.
I count on it,
The Queen.
admittedly. I assume that he will do as much, and Zelakar isn't beyond reason. If Pietro turns against us, it'll basically expedite Zelakar's realization that his plan was flawed and that he cannot utilize someone like Pietro. Pietro will yet be an enemy to him. You just have to spin the conversation the right way to... Well, I have something in mind. If it does come to that.
Okay. And as to regards for the future, I'm sure we can figure something out. I'm glad to hear that you have some sort of escape for those that had undeath forced upon their souls. And for what's going on with Maleth, I'm sure we can just handle that afterwards. Like all the problems we've faced, just one step at a time. Let's focus on what's in front of us. We have a dragon to kill. Don't worry about anything else. Because it won't matter if we don't succeed with this.
Nothing like an apocalypse to force your perspective.
Ain't that right? Is there anything else that concerns you?
Well, not anymore. And then Jasper, he reaches out with his hand angled kind of upward. He's going for the Roman handshake.
Sorry, everyone cut out for me. What was that?
Jasper has his arm extended towards you, Roman handshake fashion.
Oh yeah, Carlson catches that hand, gives you a nice good clap with all of his strength. Despite you being an older guy, it doesn't matter to him.
Jasper pretends like it didn't sting a little bit. Let's kill this dragon scum. Or hopefully we can charisma our way through this. Kills himself, but I'm not gonna count my eggs before they hatch. Not now.
We'll succeed. Of that, I'm sure of.
DM,
Might sound strange,
what if
but
all of us spend? Oh, sorry. Sorry to kill.
that moment lost completely, permanently.
DM, what if all of us use our remaining hero point? I'm sure some of us have two. All of us use our remaining hero point in a charisma check against the dragon to unalive himself. What happens then?
If you all do that, he'll probably look at you and say, calling upon the outer gods to help you.
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah, unfortunately, as far as all the rules concerning like charm and stuff, you usually can't convince anyone to do anything that would harm themselves, which is dumb.
But
This
what
is
if
a
we're really
heroic charm.
persuasive?
That's not dumb. That prevents that spell from being insanely idiotic and busted.
It's true, because you could tell someone to walk off an edge, and that's a very easy task to do.
Okay.
Slit their throat. But yeah.
Any other preparations? Not Jasper, Gabriel and Prince. Gabriel especially. We haven't heard from you at all tonight. Is there anything you're needing to do or wanting to do prior to the end of your preparations?
At the end of my preparations, I would just send one last message to Sherry, the lady that kind of braced me a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just on her, kind of like, hey, going off to fight the thing. Might survive, might not. Thanks for everything. I'll see you again sometime.
Okay.
And then actually, also, with a couple days before, I will look around to see if anyone is able to resurrect my buddy Dagon.
As you ask around, the thing that you're able to determine, I'll save you a check right now, is that because he had been undead, the strength of the spell required to bring him back is beyond a majority of spellcasters. And given time, which you don't have right now, it would be possible if expensive. But
Okay.
in the current
So
circumstances,
basically a shortage of materials and time.
yeah, a regular raise dead spell would be insufficient to bring him back because he was previously undead.
Okay. That's good to know.
While you are going around, the one tidbit, would you have interacted at all with Lord Bellevant?
Yeah, I would have.
while you are talking to him, and he's probably one of the ones who you would have been able to ask about raising Dagon, one thing was surprising to you is, and I mean, you've at this point over the last week or so, you've become very accustomed to your amulet kind of just always buzzing. I don't know if you've maybe put it somewhere else to not cause any distractions, but obviously among the encampment of humans, there was no concern of that. So it is surprising to you that as you approach Lord Bellivant and the hooded figure that has a bow on his back, that has been really with Bellivant since you reconvened with him recently, as you approach the two of them to speak with Bellivant, your amulet vibrates.
Okay. Then I'll just like tilt my head down into the side a bit and look at the hooded visor
Give me a
just for a
perception
bit.
check.
Cues. Loads. Mm.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
Now that you're looking, it is very obvious to you in the stance, in the leanness of the archer, and just a number of things. As you look at him and study him, you notice that he tenses a little bit. He's obviously heavily cloaked and dressed up. There's no flesh visible, but you catch a glimpse of a bony finger. And by bony finger, I mean literally just bone. As he sort of is, fiddling with his hand, he notices you looking and he slips a glove back on. But as you are looking, behind his mask, he's got a cowl and a face mask on, just like a bandana sort of thing, cloth covering him. But now that you know what you're looking for, you can see the hints of a skeletal face behind there. Little bits here and there, enough that a majority of people, even interacting with him, probably wouldn't even notice. He's very well disguised to at least not look skeletal, but you can see all of the features there.
Okay. Well,
Is there a
if,
problem? The figure asks. And you can hear a raspiness to the voice that doesn't necessarily sound inhuman, but certainly sounds like someone who's had a bad cold for a while. So I guess more of a is there a problem?
no, sorry, I just little little surprised, and I'll glance at Belvet when I say little surprised, and then back at him. You know, I have no problem with you whatsoever. Uh,
Are the
just
ballista to your satisfaction? Anything that you would have changed in their arrangement?
no, everything looks great, but uh, I look forward to fighting with you from one archer to another.
He
Uh,
nods
just,
and he
I
unconsciously taps his bow, kind of just checking it, almost as if checking to see if it's there.
right, yeah, and then I'll just finish with
Bellevant.
uh, if I tell him just make sure you keep the leather gloves on. You know how hard being a bowman can be on the hands, and I'll just wink a little bit and nod, uh, and be on my way from that conversation.
His hands clench a little bit as you say that, but he says nothing else, and Bellevant says nothing either.
Well, I guess after I've turned and taken a couple steps, I'll just look back and say, I've just had a lot of experience, and I'm happy that if I die in the coming days, that you will be on my that you'll be fighting by my side.
Lord
And
Bellevant looks at you and looks at the hooded figure and turns back to you and says, I hope that it doesn't come to that. Though I must say, much as none of this turned out how I'd hoped, I'm impressed with you and your companions, Gabriel. You've done well.
thank you. And while
If
I
we
also hope
succeed,
that
your names will be remembered for centuries. At least, I hope so.
I don't need my name to be remembered, but I appreciate that.
I'm
And
sorry about
before
your
any of
friend.
you, it it is the nature of life and death, and it was just an inquiry. Just so I owed it to him to at least know and inquire of greater minds than mine concerning these words. But I might be joining him soon. I don't know if it comes between you dying or myself or and I'll just like gesture kind of to like everybody else, like the camp and the wars and everybody, or anybody, any one of us dying or myself. I do not fear death. I would rather take that than have you take it.
Did
I do
you
not mind
did
burning
you
to
tell
death.
him anything specific about Dagon?
Uh, I'll tell him that the first time I encountered the undead, we fought the
So
that
so a
reckoning
little a little bit
together.
about the history. So enough that he
Yeah,
would probably know that he was a dwarf.
yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah, this was my best friend. We became friends at a
Yeah.
dwarfenage
Yeah.
together.
But the point is that when you say that you may join him soon, Lord Bellevant would nod and say, if it is so, may the halls of Moradin greet you.
Then I'll give us a slight nod at that, and I'll take my leave.
Okay, any other preparations that want to be done prior to making yourselves ready for whatever is to come when the dragon has your week
Yes,
up?
I have some
Yeah,
preparations.
go
So
ahead.
I want to pray to. What is my person's
Pharasma?
Pharasma, and say, Pharasma, a lot of my life, these last 10, 15 years has been about death. But now that I found my family, and now that we're going against this dragon, I've realized that I no longer want to focus on death. I want to focus on life. And I know that my spirit is linked to death, but I would like it to be linked to life now, if that's possible. And in doing so, that I'm hoping that I can change from being like a bone shaman to a life shaman, is what I'm hoping for.
Okay.
And then I also want to cast divination about the upcoming deal with the dragon, to
Sorry, I
if
missed
there's
that part.
anything useful that I can be able to get out of that. Not from Pharasma, just in general. I want to cast Divination.
Mm-hmm.
It does useful advice for an event within 1 week. It can be just a line. Is what it is.
Okay, 1 second. Let me double check the spell.
Also, when you get a chance, I've noticed that I'm not rested, and I assumed at some point during all of this we've had a chance to sleep.
Yes, I
Okay.
will.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too.
Let me see if I can rest everybody simultaneously.
Well, some of us might not be able to rest because, there's no rest for the wicked.
We'll find a way.
And
That was
Prince,
supposed to be.
I'll wait till you're done reading.
Sorry. I'm resting everybody in Fantasy Grounds right now. Okay, everyone has been rested. Nobody, though, has been arrested. Okay, 1 moment. Okay, I will send you the response that you get from your divination, Erica. Or Hestia, I should say.
Thank you.
Kayla, can
If
you
we-
share the thing
before
that you
we
just sent to
travel,
me?
I would like to cast Owl's Wisdom.
Okay.
Okay.
Kayla, go ahead and share the thing that you sent to me. Take the time for that while I'm responding to Hestia.
Okay, one thing I would like to talk to people about it, let me find the meshes, is one thing we should be aware of about Raveners is that their powers come from this reservoir of energy called the Soul Ward that comes from extracting life force from others, and we can't kill the dragon before we deplete this Soul Ward. It's some sort of field of energy that surrounds the Ravener, but I don't know if there's any way to actually recognize it. I just know it exists, and we'll have to take care of that first.
Is there any sense of what sort of game mechanic this uses? Like, it's a shield, but is that like damage reduction or AC? Is it like a flat HP, like temporary HP bonus?
Wow, that's a lot of metagamey questions.
Well, no, I mean, okay, well, there's only, I don't know how to say that in like an in-game way, but there would be an in-game way to say that. Okay.
So to remind though, the information about Raveners is very scarce. So it wasn't like the texts that Maleth and whoever else, I don't know if she told you, but whoever else were familiar enough with weren't exactly studies of Raveners. It was more offhand comments about them.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm asking is like, so we don't have magic in our world, so we don't have like words for like shields and stuff.
Yep.
But in a world where there are magical shields, I assume that if they had a word for it, it would translate to, because shield can mean a lot of things. I don't know what to do with that, I guess.
So, and that's the thing
What
is
sort
that
of sense would we get from it?
I didn't give. Okay, Kayla, go ahead and give whatever information you want that I gave you, because I gave you guys as much in-game knowledge as you would have, and you can do with that what you will.
Yeah, just let me get back to the messages. I think I already gave everything, but I'll double check to make sure. Most powers are fueled from the reservoir. Blah. Yeah, I don't see anything I haven't
Did you read the
already
second thing that I sent?
It's a field of energy that surrounds it.
Yes.
Oh, energy. That is a hint. Energy is used, so it's a type of negative energy or positive energy or something like that. Maybe.
I mean, I would assume negative, but I don't know.
Well, if he's draining it from the people around him.
Yeah, it says it's a reservoir of energy referred to as the soul ward. It is fueled by extracting life force from others, and a ravener cannot be killed without first depleting the soul ward, which is a field of energy that surrounds it. But the descriptions are unclear if it could be seen or if there is a method to recognize its magnitude or how full the field is. But its strength is dependent on the strength of the ravener.
Well, if it uses the life force of others, and we saw him become a Ravener, how many living creatures would he have time to be around exactly?
I mean, there's probably a reason he gave us a week.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, that might tell us where he is. I mean, honestly, where are all the living people in Zelkia right now? I guess they would be like...
Erwin in the capital.
Yeah, so he's probably somewhere around Barrowayne in the capital. I mean, if this is something that they would want to, like... I mean, I assume if it feeds off of other living creatures, it's like any other sort of hunger that there is, and one might be compelled to, like, fill it up, so to speak. So there is probably a good chance that Mr. Ravener dude is probably just sitting in the largest group of living people in Zelkir somewhere or around there, unless he can just do it, from any distance, which would be whack.
I still think we're in the right place. I mean, we can't be everywhere.
Yeah. The real question is, does it weaken him to take all the living people away from him? How does that work? I'm just trying to workshop how to get rid of the shield. That's all I'm doing. I'm sorry.
Okay. Any other preparations that you are all making?
I would say that Prince does do a little ritual every night anyways, and during the one before whatever day we scheduled the battle. Have we utilized all the time, by the way, or have we
I mean, I would say so. You've had a total since you first met with the leaders, probably about 4 days, and in that time you've had to find the place that you want to settle. You've had to prepare yourselves, prepare the area. You're setting up effectively a trap with, a small army as well as siege weapons and every group making themselves ready.
Okay, well, since Prince does a little prayer thing every night anyways, the night before we're planning on doing, like, expecting whatever is going to happen. He'll make the dance that he does, maybe particularly more involved. I don't know. I was thinking about maybe inviting some people to it. We don't have to roleplay it or anything like that. I
Sure.
was not
I
expecting
mean,
that.
there's
It's
plenty
just...
of people in the area. I think you've got well over 1,000 people right here within the city. all of which are on the stronger side of the followers of each of the groups.
Okay, so I'll just say this then. Instead of making it a private thing that he does under the moonlight, he'll go to a more public place where people might see him do it, and he'll do a more involved dance. The dance usually takes an hour. Maybe I'll take 2 hours to do it. You know, I don't have any particular choreography on the out of game character side of it, just that it would be, you know, it would seem like it's more involved than normal. And I would treat that as a sort of prayer. I mean, that is how he prays. So
Okay, yeah.
that is my prayer before battle.
Alrighty.
And I would bring everyone up to speed on just what the general tactics are going to be. Just like obviously with like the Harpoon Ballista, and just that we would want to cripple a wing because we need to prevent him from escaping. Because I mean, this is all or nothing right here if we don't get rid of him here and now.
Were we planning on talking to him before the fight? Oh, sorry. I didn't see
I
Hestia.
plan on it.
Are we answering
I
this?
just want
Why
to
are
let
we
you
still trying
know-
to talk to him?
I didn't say for a particular goal. I just think that, like, you know, as soon as he shows up, immediately attacking might not be the best tactic. I don't know.
What do you mean?
I
That it would be the
actually-
best time to attack. That's when he's going to have his guard down for a moment. At least, hopefully, we can have the advantage of surprise on our side. Giving
Well,
him a
that's
chance
what-
to do anything, I think, is going to be a terrible idea.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, okay, so, all right. I'm saying we should, like, get him close, is what I'm saying.
We're setting up right where he might appear.
Okay.
At least that was my understanding, is that he was going to appear in this area that we excavated.
All right, well, that's as good as plan as any.
Yeah, I kind of was thinking we were going to talk to him first still, but you're probably right that we could use the element of surprise, but
I mean, he may not be as bloodthirsty as you
Could-
think he is.
Could
That
I
is
go
true.
ahead and talk? Could I go ahead and talk to him? That way he still wouldn't know.
What do you mean not as bloodthirsty as I
If
think he is? His deeds are writ all over this land. He is the most bloodthirsty
Then it
being
is
this
my
planet has
choice.
probably ever seen for a long time.
That's my
Well-
choice to do if I die.
I
I
just-
would rather try to talk to him than not.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I can do
Is
this in
it
chat.
chopping in and out?
It is a little bit. It hesitates to turn on, so we catch you like in the middle of your first word. But it's
Okay.
we
Let
can
me
hear you
change
though.
my phone.
Um,
I think we should talk to him. From my spell, it says if life is to succeed, then death must be accepted. I would at least. I really do think that we can at least try to talk to him.
That sounds like it
and-
just goes along with his plan, making everyone undead.
well,
But
all I'm saying
being
is-
dead is really not death.
that is true.
It's not the same.
But
I am acutely aware of that.
all I mean to say is that he seemed to have, at least in the beginning, some reasonable intention behind his actions, even if it is misguided. And we did foster peace in the land, which is what he wanted us to do. And he does look down on us as inferior beings, I assume, or at least that's how he was talking to us when we first met him. And I can tell you, when you're talking to inferior beings, you usually don't tell them the whole story. You tell them what you want, you tell them the words that you think that will create the situation that you desire. Like if I were talking to a child, I don't tell the child everything. You know, I tell the child what the child needs to hear. And I don't know what's up this dragon's sleeve. I just
We let
feel
him
like-
live. He still remains to be an incredible
wasn't.
liability. We change his mind now. What's to prevent him from just in an hour like, wait, actually I changed my mind. Anyways.
I don't know. Maybe he'll go away on his own. I don't know what he'll do. I'm not saying to try and convince him or anything. I just think we should talk to him. We might be surprised.
About what?
I don't know. That's the nature of surprises. You don't know.
So you want to talk to him because he might say something interesting and give up our surprise attack.
I mean, if I said yes, would that be weird?
That would be incredibly stupid.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna say stupid per se, but I would say weird. I would also invite you, if you want to give up an element of surprise to talk with him, you are more than welcome to do so at your own convenience without inconveniencing anybody else from the Alliance.
Yes, if any of you wanted to talk to the dragon, you had time to. Why are you just now, at the penultimate moment, deciding, hey, maybe we should talk to it again?
We had time to talk to the
We
dragon
didn't
this whole
gather
time.
everybody here and all of these resources and all of this negotiation, all of this work just to throw it away because this dragon could say something interesting to you. You
Not to
see
me,
where
to
I'm
all of
coming
us.
from, right?
Not really, because I don't think we'd actually give up the element of surprise. Like, yes, maybe he appears and he sees all the stuff around him. Why wouldn't you do that to something that scares you? I mean, he's bringing all of his guns to the fight, is he not? Should we not bring all of our teeth to bear as well? I don't think it immediately tells him that we're trying to do something. And
If he
with
appears in this place, he will be surrounded by modified ballistae, hundreds of people, and the very heroes that stood in his way before. What do you think is going to be the first thought in his mind?
wow, these people really came together for peace, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't think we really stood in his way before. I mean, we did make the agreement for a week before meeting again and stuff. I don't think he viewed us as in his way per se.
I mean, look at what he'll see. He will see undead, he will see humans, and he will see them all together, not trying to kill each other. That kind of looks like peace to me.
Okay, and I'm sure he's just going to be like all sunshine and rainbows and just leave us alone after that. He's certainly not going to say, oh, well, this is probably just temporary. Let's see how long this lasts.
I mean, he may say that. I don't know what he'll say. That's why I think it will be surprising.
That's incredibly stupid, Prince. You
Okay,
clearly don't
Prince,
come from any kind of a military background.
I do have a question for you, Prince. Uh, Worst case scenario, he the dragon comes, sees us ready to fight him to the death, and instead of attacking him and taking advantage of that preemptive strike, we decide to converse with the dragon. Yeah, the dragon decides, I'm not here for conversation because you guys are ready to kill me, so I'm gonna kill you first. And we lose the edge that we have, and at least half of everybody dies. Is
Mm,
is all that death worth having that conversation with the dragon?
Maybe.
If you,
I'm not sure. The
okay,
reason I say that
We're
is
Man,
not
you
even
because
realize that
sure
if
if
we
we can
fail,
defeat
you are
the.
going to die, Prince.
no, no, no,
We're not
okay,
even
so
sure if we'll live through being able to attack him, even if we might not even win. We're probably not going to win
We
against the
will win,
Ravener.
absolutely, as long as we take advantage of everything at our disposal, which I have carefully ensured that we will, as long as we make sure to take advantage of this surprise attack that we have. We will see this fight through, and he will die.
we
but
don't
I'm gonna
even.
grab a private, just like a low level soldier, and like bring him along and put him in front of Prince. Okay, Prince, tell him that a conversation with a dragon is more important than his life.
Oh
Like, don't tell
gosh.
me, tell him.
I mean, I don't know what to say to this young man. All that I would say that the movements of leaders are strange. And if the dragon is anything like his queen was, then yeah, we're probably all dead because that queen cared more about her throne than she cared about Zelkier.
What that
This
wasn't.
dragon,
What do you mean? That she wasn't queen of that dragon? What are you talking about?
I mean, I think what I'm saying is obvious. The problem that I found with the queen, that I assumed that a lot of us found with the queen when we were talking to her, is that she cared more about ruling Zelkir than the state of Zelkir. And my point is, if the dragon shows up and he sees all of us together, his ultimate goal, or at least what he told me, was to make sure that
Do
we
you
were.
remember when we were talking to him before? We told him about how, yeah, like we have kingdoms, we can cooperate. His whole argument is that it never lasts. What's to
Yes.
prevent him just being like, okay, this definitely isn't going to last because you all still hate each other?
By that logic, he should have killed us where we stood. Why did he give us 7 days? What is the point of this entire charade if it wasn't for the fact that he had some faith that things could change?
No, I think that was
Maybe
because of
he's
his
playing
ego
with
to
his
prove his
food.
point.
Well,
Or
we
maybe
He,
he's
he
playing
gave
with
us
his
an
food.
impossible task. We asked for more time, and he was like, no, you're not going to have it. The time to actually make a meaningful difference, he didn't want to give us. This is to feed his ego so that he can come and swoop by and say, yeah, see, I told you it wasn't going to happen. Anyways,
maybe that's
if
the
he
case.
actually
but
wanted to get, no, that is the case. If he actually wanted to give us time, he could have given us years to actually make a meaningful difference. And we
And he,
said that we would be willing to. After all, we had already made major strides, but he's like, no, you get these 2 weeks.
well, we took that short amount of time and we did what he thought was going to be impossible. If that doesn't scream,
We haven't done that. Everyone at the table here is still at each other's throats. You really think the queen is going to let sleeping dogs lie? Do you think that Pietro is going to be content with what he has? Do you think Bellevant is going to feel safe at all on this continent? This is garbage, what we've negotiated. This is a terrible place to be. At any time, any of these leaders could lash out or do something stupid. This is horrible, what we've negotiated, which is why I've been talking about actually making real strides and real fixes after we're done with this. This is not an actual peace we've negotiated. It is a very temporary ceasefire while we get rid of something that is powerful than all of us so that we can then get back to squabbling, which we definitely will.
Prince will say under his breath, "You kind of sound like the dragon, Calistan."
Why is that?
You think that the peace that we've garnered here is feeble and will always fall apart?
I didn't say that at all. Don't put words in my mouth. I think that we can make a lasting peace, but there are obstacles in our way that are preventing that, namely Pietro.
There's a difference between a lasting peace and an eternal one. What Zelakar seeks and thinks he's currently accomplishing is impossible by his own methods.
Well, I wasn't talking about any of that. I was talking about the deal he made with us and his response when he gets here and sees that we have accomplished the terms of our agreement.
Please, I don't mistake my tone of voice for. I'm not upset at you for proposing this. I definitely appreciate that you have this point of view that we should talk to this dragon. All life is definitely important. But what I'm trying to protect is all the life that remains here. I would love, in a perfect world, to be able to let this dragon live, who's clearly suffered a great deal, who has probably known
I
such
didn't
incredible
say
depths of sadness. I feel for this dragon. It's unfortunate what he's had to deal with and go through. But I think that the fallout of losing our edge in this fight that is going to be extremely difficult is very dangerous. In a perfect world, yes, I would love to be able to talk to the dragon, and then we still get our surprise attack. But if it's going to be one or the other, I want our surprise attack.
Okay. Well, I guess we shouldn't talk to the dragon, but you act like this is such a sure thing. We don't even. Megalith said that this dragon has a shield, and we have no idea what it is. And we're just
If we can
expecting. Go ahead,
If we
Hestia.
can talk to the dragon and be able to not lose our edge, could I just channel to him and talk to him about it? There should be a way to talk to him and be able to still make the plans that we're making.
I mean,
He
why
knows
not
that-
just send a message?
Well, message, you have to have line of sight. I mean, you could try sending, but
Oh
I-
yeah, that. I mean, I'm not that well versed in spellcraft, but I get a couple things confused. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we can send a magical message to wherever he is, be like, and try and start a conversation that way. If anything, that would help us gauge where he's at, so we
I
can
could also
know if
shadow
we
walk
have to.
to him and try and talk to him, and then at least let you guys know what happens.
we could
Even
try
if
all
we
of that.
somehow succeeded in showing him and getting him to stay his hand, it doesn't matter. Pietro is still in the way. And we get rid of him, then that's probably just going to prove he'll just think that his point is proven and come after us again. And then now we have no attack force to raise against him.
Life is bigger than Pietro ever will be, and this dragon.
Not if Pietro's alive and has any say in it.
Nature always finds a way to balance itself. And it's not like we are alone in this plane. It's not like there aren't other planes or other places where there are hard issues. It's not, the only option isn't to kill everybody. Otherwise, we're just being like the dragon, just trying to kill everything that stands in our way.
First of all, killing everything is the absolute opposite of my goal. I'm trying to save everybody. And I don't understand why you would defend Pietro, Hestia. He's the reason that your family is dead. You should be more angry about this than any of us here.
It is because my family is alive that I'm even trying to talk to the dragon.
And I also feel, Calistan, that what you just said, I'm not trying to kill everyone, I'm trying to save them. I think the dragon would probably say the exact same thing.
Are you incapable of seeing any nuance, Prince? You keep comparing me to the dragon, just assuming that what I'm saying is blanket statements, that they're the same?
Well, no. I actually feel like you're having trouble seeing the nuance. Like, I don't
We
immediately
get
see
rid
it.
of Pietro. I
And the
think
dragon.
that we could be far better rulers, far more fair to everybody, far less greedy, power hungry, prideful. I think we would make a much better kingdom than he
And
would, a much better quality of life than they would.
I've heard the exact same thing.
And
come out
I
of
will not
Pietro's.
force my beliefs on anyone, unlike the dragon or Pietro. People will be free to be and do what they would like.
Good, then I'd like to talk to the dragon, please.
No.
That was out of character, sorry.
I just
Gross.
want to say that I kind of do agree with Prince here that from the way the dragon talked last time, I think it would think that, I think in its mind it's making very similar to arguments to you, and having talked to Pietro, he sees what he's trying to create very similarly. He speaks of it almost as a haven for undead to live freely in peace. Every single contender for power here thinks they're doing exactly what you are. And I think the fact that we got
what I'm
I think-
hearing. Have all of you forgotten what we've been through, what we've experienced? This is actually unbelievable. What are we even doing here then?
And we got everyone to put aside their ambitions for the ceasefire despite it all.
It's not like that with all
Just
deploy.
so last, any of you, tell me now, do you actually think that's going to last? That peace is a joke.
Then why are we even trying?
Because we can make a better peace. The reason we negotiated this peace was to get rid of this moronic dragon. One step at a time. We're doing what we need to do to make this continent better. This peace wasn't negotiated so that we could actually have anything that would last.
You
This
just
isn't going to last. You all have to see that, right? All of these people are way too prideful, way too arrogant to let anybody last here, any kind of peace last.
I'm going to shadow walk to the dragon.
Wait, do we know where the dragon is? That's the first
She
thing we
can
need
attempt
to
to shadow walk to the dragon's lair,
temple?
which may well be right below you.
Oh yeah, because that's where we thought the
Okay,
dragon's lair was.
Hestia, go ahead and give me a percentile
Oh my
check.
gosh.
Okay. And I also have already casted heightened awareness,
Okay,
by the way.
go ahead and roll the percentile. That's the last dice on the bottom of Fantasy Grounds on the right side. And actually, before you do, let me decide what it is. Okay.
Did it let me roll? Okay. Sorry, that was like 3 rolls.
Okay, Erica,
Mm-hmm.
call high or low.
Hi.
You succeed in finding the lair of the dragon, but he is already gone.
Can I send a sending to him?
Yes, yes, you can.
And I say, I forgot his name. Sorry, say
Zelakar.
his name. Zelakar. I would like to talk to you alone.
So this is the night of the 6th day. You wait in the temple, having gotten no response from the dragon for probably about 2 hours, until the ground around you rumbles. And almost like a serpent, the dragon emerges from the sand around you. The difference between when you last saw him and now, to you at least, is noticeable. You can sense, almost feel, a rippling field of energy surrounding him. As he closes on you, I need you to roll a will save.
Is that all of us or is Hestia?
Just Hestia. This is happening within the dragon's lair.
13.
Natural 1. As he gets close to you, you are immediately overcome by the realization of what you have done. You are alone in the lair of the Ravener.
And I stare him down.
You stare him down to the best of your ability while cowering. Actually, let me double check the exact effect of his frightful presence.
I try to hold my head as high as I can.
Okay. So, 1 second. Let me verify the frightful presence. So, let's see. With a natural 1, you are frightened. You're not panicked, but you are frightened, and you run as far away from him as you can until you realize that you are well and truly trapped And once you're able to shake it off, you turn back to him, and you can see not a pleasure in his eyes, but a satisfaction. Foolish mortal, you come to me alone.
I do.
And what do you wish to accomplish? The time is at hand. The reckoning for Zelkier, for you and your companions.
I would like to talk to you about mortality, about life and death.
Speak, mortal, before I have decided that you waste my time.
Well, your time has already been wasted, according to you. You've been here millennia and millennia. You're desperate to find an end to this torture that you've given to yourself. It's been a pain in your side for so long not being able to find a way to get to your self-appointed goal, your reason for doing what you do. You were supposed to be the savior of Zelkier, the person who brought peace. And the only way you've been able to find a way to do that is to destroy it yourself. And I understand that that thought process. But in the end, that's all it is destroying a toy that you haven't been able to find a way to play with it longer. And the thing is by making us all die, all become undead, you don't even have subjects. You just have souls that will eventually perish given time. What you're doing with the country of Zelkier is just throwing it away. And in the end, I don't fear death. Death is just a part of life. And so I wonder, why do you fear the death? Why do you fear death so much that you'd rather everybody become undead than just letting us live our lives, have it us not be united, and have that be okay? But that you need to control it so much that you're so desperate for unification or peace that you'd rather just kill us all. Why can't we die? Why can't we live and die? What are you just fighting for a release of your responsibility? If so, couldn't you just walk away? It's not like this isn't something, it's not like having unification isn't a goal for so many gods, so many realms, so many planes. No one has been able to have only peace in chaos. Life is just chaos amidst some order, because that's how you get balance. You think you can overrule balance and make it so nothing happens for forever?
What you do not see, mortal, is the storm on the horizon. You look and see all of life as if it can continue, as if that cycle is eternal. But you have not seen what I have seen.
And you have not told anyone else what you have seen.
You follow Pharasma, and you think her position is sturdy. There are
Follow someone
those
and know that they have flaws.
there are
Doesn't mean I have to
those
follow them for
who would
everything.
take from her what is hers, what she has created. The Lady of Graves is far from indestructible, is
I know.
far from immortal.
And I
Zelkier,
don't think she minds death. That's part of
in a booming
who she
voice,
is.
he drowns your voice out. You follow her as if she can withstand what is to come. Zelkier will
come?
simply be fodder for the war that is at hand. The storm on the horizon will destroy all before it. But I can preserve Zelkier. I can take it and make it something that will not be a tool in the battles to come. I will preserve my home. This is not something that I can expect you to understand, nor will I take the time or the effort to try and explain it to you.
All you're doing is letting us be fodder now.
No,
Can't.
I am protecting you.
No, you're protecting yourself.
Perhaps. Perhaps you are right, little one. But it is of no consequence. The truth
It is of
is
consequence.
that the storm is coming.
And regardless of whether we live or die, the storm will come and it will claim what it claims. But in the end, if it comes and we are undead creatures, you've already taken the lives from us that we could have used to fight against it.
Go ahead and roll a diplomacy check.
Whoa! Yeah.
Wow.
I wish my mic wasn't muted. I did. Oh.
Maybe
Yeah.
talking to the dragon was not so bad after all.
We will see. Keep your fingers crossed.
With a snort of fumes, the dragon lets out a breath, and you succumb to sleep. A short time later, you awake and find yourself alone, still, but unharmed.
Okay.
And that
I'll walk
is where
back
we will end
to her.
tonight.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
I'm alive.
I don't think something can kill you, regardless of whatever it thinks, after a nat 20 diplomacy.
I was worried. I was worried, but in the end, I'm glad that
Well-
Zelkar let you cook. That was not bad, Hestia.
I will say this. I will say
Yeah.
this. Prince came into this campaign already having a sort of neutral to like they can be saved opinion of the undead. And because of that, as I've seen the undead as they are so far in Zelkier, I can say with confidence that I don't assume that they're just going to be evil. And I mean, this dragon cares about these people.
I don't think
mean,
any of us assume that they're going to be evil.
yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like the dragon might be more reasonable or have some other intention than what we think. And I say this out of character. I mean, I'll say it in character. I believe that. I don't know. I just
Look,
I've-
I don't want to be. I want to be wrong about everything that I'm saying. Like, I don't want things to be the way that I see them, but I just, based on everything that I know, I really feel like that's the case. I really want you guys to be right, though. Nothing would make me happier is if I was wrong and you guys were right, but I can't see it that way. Like, I hope you just, like, don't think that I'm just, basing these are just baseless assumptions. Like, this is, I think that based on all of the evidence with how people have acted with the current situation and that, I feel like I'm acting in the best interest of what the continent needs. I really don't want to be right. I don't want it to be this way, but I just don't want it to seem to everybody like, like I'm just out for blood and I'm gonna make the continent I want, no matter what anyone says. Like, obviously, like I want to try to be more careful than that,
I
but
don't think you're doing that.
I don't think
But
that
I
you
do
think
think
you're
that
doing that.
if we close the door, if we preemptively close the door, then that door isn't going to be available to us if we can use it. But if we can check that door, see if it's usable or not, it's worth our time.
I
yes,
agree.
and
But
I
we
absolutely
shouldn't just
want.
close off opportunities preemptively.
I absolutely wanted to talk to the dragon. That would be great, is if somehow we could negotiate something. I mean, keep in mind, like, one of my worst enemies from earlier in the campaign, I still did not want to see dead. The person who betrayed me the most, who caused the death of my wife, I still didn't want him dead. So, like, I am not, like, vengeful or anything like that either. I definitely agree with you, Prince. Like, it is worthy and noble to see if anyone can be redeemed, no matter who you think they are or what they've done. But the problem is that with something like the dragon, we're making that decision for hundreds of thousands, for this continent. Like, for the guy that killed my wife, like, the consequences are not nearly as far reaching if he happens to get away from me or live, whereas if the dragon lives, that is one of my main problems. And I didn't want the dragon to be able to see everything that we've done and accomplished, because that would lead him to see, oh, I see what their plan is, to use these ballistae to ground me and that. And then, and then what's to say he doesn't just say something to placate us because he realizes, wow, they actually planned really well, and I might not make it out of there. I'll tell them, hey, I'm actually cool with you guys now. And then tomorrow, when they're not all prepared and have those ballistae, now I'm going to come and destroy the continent. Like, I just am weighing the risk in my head, and that is the problem that I see. I would love to, I would love to see if he could be redeemed, and I do think that that is noble and good to do. I would love to do that. But the potential fallout, again, if that plan doesn't work, it could be disastrous.
Okay, so I understand your perspective, but what I think about out of character is like there's this guy named Stanislav Petrov. He's this Russian who worked at this early detection center in Russia, and it was
Yep.
like in the 1980s
The man
or
who
something.
saved the world.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think about him, it's like he saw 5 nuclear warheads coming towards Russia. That is millions upon millions of people dying. And he had the choice of like, okay, what we're supposed to do in this is retaliate or try and stop the nuclear warheads. But that causes potentially a fallout of a lot more violence. Is there a ghost pulling down your blinds? Holy what is going on? My heart skipped. I've seen those videos of people on webcams where weird stuff is going on. I'm sorry, but
No
anyways,
worries. Here, let me change your. That was my beautiful wife who was just barely out of camera.
okay, so that's fine. Anyways, so that's just what I think of is like it's not just a matter of being noble to a single individual or a single person. I'm not trying to spare just the dragon's life. It's that I on one
It's the
level,
ideal.
no,
I know.
it's not just ideals. It's like I'm also thinking about like the idea of an older being knowing more than I do, or a god knowing more. Like Prince has a lot of reverence for like his goddess, for example, and she says a lot of shit that he does, a lot of stuff that he does not understand. He does not get it. It doesn't make any sense to him. And on some level, even if you're upset at them for doing things that you don't understand, on some level you have to recognize that they may know more than you do. Like I don't, when I have a conversation with someone, I never assume that that person either doesn't know what they're talking about, or that they're crazy or something like that. And that has happened so many times to me in my life personally, and I've seen it happen to a lot of women, for example, where like we just assume that they have no idea what they're talking about. And it's like maybe we're
Women.
just maybe we're just overconfident or arrogant. Maybe I'm so sure of myself and I'm so scared and, so insecure that I don't see that the other person may have a point. And
Yeah,
I,
I'm scared of the idea.
Zelikar has been
More than me.
incredibly clear with what he's laid out, though. There's nothing that we don't understand with Zelikar, and in fact, he does honestly make a good point. I don't entirely disagree with him there.
well, out of character, there seems to be something that he knows that we don't know, that he said to Hestia. I can't bring that up as Prince, but he did say that there's something coming, and I don't know how he knows that or what it is. Maybe he's crazy, maybe he's not.
Well,
And
our characters don't know that, so we can't make that a part of the puzzle until that's revealed to
I
us.
know, but
I'm working with the current information that we have, which was Zelikar was extremely clear with us, and we understood exactly what his intentions are and what his argument was.
yes, but I even brought that up before she went down there. I was like, I know how older, powerful beings, like a father to a child, I know how I talk to my son. I mean, he doesn't understand anything now at all, but I know how I'm going to talk to him as he gets older. It's not that I'm trying to keep things from him. I'm not trying to like keep him in the dark, but maybe it's a mixture of arrogance. Maybe it's a mixture of me not understanding what he is as a being or what he's capable of understanding. But there are things that we do not tell the beings we think that can't handle it or are inferior or don't have the perspective that we have. There's a way of talking to people like that. And we tell them what we think they need to hear, what we want them, that will get them to do the behavior that we want them to do. And because Zelikar is so old, I just come into the gate thinking that he's doing that. I just immediately assume that.
I
I
don't think he had
immediately
any intention to manipulate us. I mean, he let us live, after all.
Well, I think this whole thing is a manipulation. Why does he think turning people undead is going to make things better? It's not a direct one-to-one like idea.
Because there'll be something that he can control.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. It's ambiguous enough for there to be some doubt there. Like, I don't know what powerful beings do. I got transported to this weird place with all these undead. I have no idea why. I don't know why. So when some powerful being is speaking to me, I just don't assume I know what the hell they're talking about because it's obvious that I don't.
I don't either. I mean, I have an obvious disdain for the gods, but I'm not going to discount their wisdom. I'm not going to say that I'm, smarter than Pharasma or
Of
more
course,
wise than her.
of
I can't. But I do think that I have a different perspective, especially a perspective that may have been lost upon them a long time ago. And I think that that is important. Whether you're more intelligent or more wise than somebody, a different perspective can mean a lot.
it can. It can. It definitely can. And I think you told him that. And I think that you have opportunities to tell him that. I just feel like here's the scenario. We immediately attack him. If we're successful, this ancient being of immense power is gone, and now we're squabbling amongst ourselves. I mean,
But if
that's
we've
best
proven
case scenario.
anything, is that we have this. Okay, well, that will happen, or at least it would have if we had followed through with the original plan. And we have the strength to make this continent what
But
we
why
need
are
it to
you
be.
so sure of that? This older being said he has seen this happen many, many times. Why are we so sure that we know better?
It's not about knowing better. It's that what he fundamentally finds flawed with the world is not what we find flawed with the world. Or at least it's a flaw that's just kind of a given with life, and it's okay. And to him, it's the worst thing that can possibly happen. His very values are so fundamentally at odds with literally everyone else, whether it's Calistan or Pietro or even you, Prince. That's the reason why Calistan feels like Zellakar and Jasper feel like Zellakar should be destroyed. That's the reason why it didn't seem to make sense to give away the opportunity to do a surprise attack by trying to talk about him when he first, appears at the surface. Because Zellakar, he specifically sees a lack of stasis as awful. And I don't think that anybody here is looking stasis. I think everyone here is looking growth or a little bit of chaos, a little bit of change to some extent, and he wants none of that. Absolutely none of that. How do we like it's almost like if an eldritch abomination were just to descend upon us, and it doesn't matter if it's good, it doesn't matter if it's evil. What matters is that it is incomprehensible and it is damaging us in some way. Like we can't really try to change it. All that we know is that when this thing gets close to us, it starts messing with our DNA and making us spontaneously explode. It's just completely alien and terrifying. That's basically what Zellakar is ideologically. Like he makes a very compelling argument, and it can maybe even be a sympathetic one, so he's not totally foreign and alien to the same extent as some eldritch abomination, but it's just something that we can't reconcile our wants and desires with Zelakar's wants and desires. He isn't looking for peace. He is looking for a peace that comes from complete stasis, and we cannot provide that for him. So I say kill him.
He
I'm
has
not
to
a
control the undead. Otherwise, we still retain our minds. We still have our greed. We still have our lust. It doesn't matter if you're undead or not. You still suffer from pretty much almost the same vices and sins that you will when you're alive. So he has to be going after some way to control everything. And if he can control everything, then he can ensure that there is peace. If he cannot control everything, all he's doing is changing everybody's state of being. And then the world will still have the exact same problems, the exact same issues, people that are greedy, people that are power hungry, people that are lustful and do terrible things. Like all of that is still going to be present. He has to rob the freedom of it. I mean, like we've seen this story 1,000 times. A dystopian government comes in because it's like, oh yeah, everything is way too chaotic and people can't be allowed to be on their own. So complete control. And then you obviously see what the fallout of that is. You don't win either way. You lose. You either create a terrible robotic world devoid of everything that gives life any meaning, or you live in a chaotic world where you still have those good things, but it does sometimes come at a price, and an awful price sometimes, of terrible people doing terrible things, of suffering through. I mean, you don't really win. I mean, like, these
so
ideals, like two people, like the dragon and me, like, we just can't come to an understanding there.
Okay, well, hold on,
There's a positive and a negative to both of them, but
So
because of
I
our experiences, we want one thing and we're not willing to compromise.
okay, so one thing that I did not assume. I so I see Jasper's point to some degree, the first part of it. But one thing that I didn't assume is that he was going to try to control everyone. What I assumed was the reason why he thought undead would be more peaceful is because undead don't need resources and undead don't need like organizational structure as far as I can tell. Like you don't Khalistan doesn't get hungry, right? You know, I mean, most wars are fought over resources and I don't think that he was planning to rob people of their individuality. As far as Jasper's point about the undead being like corruptible and stuff like that, I didn't know that to begin with moving into the campaign. I don't even think I didn't assume that Prince knew it either. That if that's the case, then he is doing something. I mean, but then again, human bodies degrade and have a maximum lifespan as well. So it's not that fundamentally different, minus the fact that Pharasma is going to be a jerk about it. Um, but on the point about like, um, I I don't know. I just feel like making it so people don't need to eat food and making sure that like, I mean that's not the worst plan, right? You know, like taking like turning everyone into robots would be bad because you're taking away their choice to do it. But it seems like now, where Zilkir is, like the initial push, everybody was forced, but it seems like there are humans living in this society. And yeah, things maybe have some friction, but you know, it's not fundamentally untenable, right?
I mean, just because you take away the need for resources doesn't mean that people aren't going to covet things. People won't want power. People won't want riches. And
Sorry
there's
to
great
interject.
joy to
I
be
need to
had
be.
with a mortal.
I need to
Go
head
ahead.
to bed, so I'm gonna end the
Uh,
stream. You guys can keep talking though.
No, I'm probably gonna go
Thank
to
you to
bed
our
soon too.
viewers.